In the first two videos, we focused on getting set up and we learned how to read price action. In this video, we're going to talk about strategies. So remember, there's no best strategy, but there is a strategy that fits you best. So I'm going to give you an overview of some common strategies that are beginner friendly, and then you can practice them and decide which one is best for you. And if you're just joining us, please subscribe. So let's walk through 3 strategies that work well for new traders. The first one is a break and retest. He said that a break and retest occurs when price goes beyond a certain point and then retests the area. And so you can see that we've drawn a trend line here. We're on the 1-hour time frame for EUR USD. And so we can see that price bounced along this area several times until it broke through and then retested. We can use our path tool to follow price action. Okay, so we see that price broke through this trend line and then came down to retest it right in this area and then continued upward. All right, and once price gets down into this retest area, we have to wait for a signal. And one of the easiest signals that I found for beginners to wait for is either an engulfing candle or a 3-bar reversal. And in this case, we have an engulfing candle. So that means that there's a large candle here. We see some momentum occurring, and we notice that this candle engulfs the candle before it. So the candle that was formed at 9 a.m. has a larger body and engulfs the candle that occurred at 8 a.m. So the 9 a.m. candle is an engulfing candle. Okay? And so after this engulfing candle completes, we would enter the trade. Okay, so we have a break, a retest, wait for our signal, which is an engulfing candle, and we would enter the trade. And we would take it up to the next area of support or resistance. We can see that we've drawn a trend line here, so we're still in the 1-hour time frame. And I think that the 1-hour time frame is one of the best time frames for beginners to learn on. So we have a 1-hour trend line here. So we've drawn that there. And we're looking for a break and retest. So we are going to use our path tool to mark the path of price action, and we can see that price broke through this trend line, retested the trend line, and continued downward. And we would enter into this trade on the retest. Okay, and what we're waiting for is either a 3-bar reversal or an engulfing candle. But here we have a 3-bar reversal. So we see a place where price pushed up fairly aggressively, and then we have a candle of indecision, and we know that this candle is one of indecision because there are wicks on both ends and it has a short body. And then we have our third candle, which goes in the opposite direction. So we have 11 a.m. the first candle occurred, at 12 p.m. the second candle occurred, and at 1 p.m. the third candle occurred. So we would enter into this trade at 2. And we can see that at 2 o'clock there was a large push away. All right, and so that's the break and retest of a trend line going toward the downside. There's also a strategy that involves the break and retest of support and resistance. We can see price touch down here and here, here, and here. We'll use our path tool to follow price action. We can see that price began here and broke through our area of support, retested the zone, and continued downward. All right. And I would say the best 3-bar reversal occurred here. So we have a push up, we have our doji candle or a candle of indecision, and then we have an engulfing candle to the downside. And so we could enter this trade at 7 a.m. and we would take it to the next area of support, which would be around in here. Okay, so that's an example of a break and retest of support. And we could come back to this area to find a break and retest of resistance. So we could draw our resistance area here. We have lots of touches here and here in this area and right up in here. And we can use our path tool to follow price action. So we can see that price broke through the area of resistance, retested this area, and continued to the upside. Okay. And so we would enter this trade after an engulfing candle or a 3-bar reversal. And we can see here that there's a 3-bar, there's a push down at 7 a.m. There is a candle of indecision at 8 a.m. And then there's an engulfing candle in the opposite direction at 9 a.m. And so we could have entered the trade at 10 a.m. and taken it to the next area of resistance. So this break and retest strategy often fits traders. It's really good for traders who like clear rules and structure. We really like preferring to wait for confirmation, and I say we because that is the strategy that I use most often, and we enjoy planning trades ahead of time. So you can decide if you're a trader in which the break and retest strategy works for you. All right, and the second type of strategy is supply and demand. And I find that you can often pair supply and demand. Once you get better, you can pair the supply and demand strategy with break and retest. But right now we're going to focus on just supply and demand. And this focuses on zones where price has previously reacted strongly. Right here we can see that price moved away from this zone aggressively. And so what we're going to do is mark supply. What I like to do is use this tool, this box, which shows the last push up before the aggressive push down. And this is a place where sellers took control. And we know that when price leaves a zone quickly, sometimes there are orders that are left behind. And so we can expect price to return to this area. We don't know when that's going to happen, but we can expect price to return to this area eventually. And so one thing that you can do is wait for price to return by setting an alert on your chart. So you hover around the price axis until you see the plus sign, and then you click it and you'll see Add Alert, and click Add Alert. And you have to make sure that the volume is turned up on your laptop. And if you have the TradingView app on your phone, you're going to want to make sure that you have enabled notifications and that your phone is turned up. And then when price reaches this area, you'll be notified. And even though we've been notified, we're waiting for our signal, which is a 3-bar reversal or an engulfing candle. And here's one at 4 a.m., 2 at 5 a.m., and the 3rd bar occurs at 6. So we've got a push up, a candle of indecision, and then a push in the opposite direction. All right, and you would enter into the trade at 7, and you would hold into the next area of support, which would be right around here. Okay. All right, and here's a good example of demand. And so we can see there was a strong push away here. So here's the last push down before the strong push up or away. And what you would do is set an alert here and wait for price to tap back into this zone. Price did eventually tap back down into this zone, and once it taps here, then you would enter after a 3-bar reversal, and we see that we have one here. There's our push down at 7 a.m. Here's our candle of indecision at 8 a.m. and our strong push in the opposite direction at 9 a.m. So you could enter this trade at 10 a.m. and you could hold into the next area of resistance. And so that is using supply and demand. This fits traders who like context instead of exact lines. You're comfortable with waiting for price to come back to you, and you are good at observing how price reacts at key areas. So the final strategy that is great for beginners is called the breakout strategy. And this is a strategy that occurs when price moves beyond a level of support or resistance with momentum and with volume. And so you can see here that price was consolidating in this area, and so you could mark this area out with your trend line tool. So we could put an area here at resistance, down here to mark support, and then what you would do is wait for price to break out of this area. And so generally I think about breakouts as being on lower time frames, and so that's why we're on the 5-minute for this one. And so you see prices ranging between 2 points, and as soon as it breaks out with some volume, then you would go ahead and enter the trade and take it down to the next area of support. Okay, this one is a little bit more risky because you're not waiting for a retest, but it is a strategy that is used by many, and it is beginner friendly. And this fits traders who really like more activity, they're comfortable making fast decisions, and they really like momentum and lots of quick price action. So think about these strategies, try them out, and decide what feels really comfortable and what feels natural to you. When it fits your personality, it really does feel calmer and just more natural to you. You're able to wait more patiently, you can follow your rules, and then you can execute. But the key is to choose only one. Choose one strategy. And you can refine it. So you can make changes to it, refine it over time, but the key is to choose only one and to wait for that strategy. Wait patiently for that strategy and only take the trade when you see the strategy that you have chosen. And the strategy that feels most natural to you is the one that you're going to master. And by master, we don't mean have it perfect all the time. It means to refine it. It means to quickly correct anything that you see that isn't going well. So masters are not people who just never fail. They're people who fail, they notice, they adjust, and continue. And so there's really no best strategy. Which strategy feels clear when you look at the charts? Which one do you see easily? Which one feels calmer to wait for or better to wait for? And which one feels easier to repeat? So you don't have to decide right away. You just need to study the charts and try out each one and decide what works best for you. And remember that if you need help or some guidance in determining which strategy works best for you, we do have a strategy trading style finder that works really well. It can give you a personalized strategy. It's the one that I used, and it lets you know which strategies really fit your personality. So in the next video, we'll talk about the different ways to take a trade and how to move from our practice account to a live account. We'll see you in the next video.